It's not about how or what form it takes. But what do you think? Greetings, Rahayu. Meet me on Touch Our Mind. Even though we cannot meet face to face, we hope that we will remain connected and synergize harmoniously in gratitude, as a sign of readiness to receive affection. Thank you. This time, we enter the 5th series. Continuing the previous series on the power of assumptions, so how? Why are the results still 0? Because that is how his life is outlined according to his assumptions. What do you think? Now try asking yourself, what do you actually have to do to get what you want? Want to earn a bigger income, for example? From the spontaneous answers that come to your mind, that is the best way for you to get a bigger income. Your spontaneous answer is a manifestation of your own assumptions that are active in your subconscious. You will not be able to fight your own assumptions, like a cat chasing its own tail, unless you get around it by installing new assumptions to suit your preferences. Here is one random example. Again, this is just an example. This is just to illustrate, to make the explanation easier. Pi Joe believes that to get a bigger income, you have to work hard. Can't help it, have to work harder. Not by sitting back and making affirmations and visualizations. What is that? Does not make sense. Without hard work, it's impossible. So this Pi Joe wants to affirm all day long and visualize all day long that he will never get a bigger income.
Alias doesn't work. The only way for Pi Joe to get a bigger income is by doing the same thing. According to his opinion, work hard. So it would be more effective if these Pi Joe models focused on utilizing their time and energy to work hard. The harder he works, the greater the amount of income he will earn. The more sluggish he works, the less income he will get. He stopped working, he finished. The universe processes according to Pi Joe's assumptions. Just normal, common. This is nothing surprising, no problem. 1 + 1 = 2, period. This is how Pi Joe's life is outlined according to his own opinion. Another field, another grasshopper, another planet, another species. Pi Gem is a bit eccentric. He thinks that to get a bigger income, he has to do something a bit eccentric. For example, swimming at the beach. Can't help but have to bathe at the beach, not just by working hard. Without taking a bath at the beach, there would be no bigger income. That's what Pi Gem thinks. So even if Pi Gem said he wanted to work hard all day long, he wouldn't be able to get a bigger income. Yes, it's just that much. Why? Because according to Pi Gem's own opinion, by bathing at the beach, he can get a bigger income. So if he really takes the time to bathe at the beach, he will get a bigger income. Somehow, ideas will pop into his head, and opportunities, conveniences, and all the other bits and pieces will come to him. The universe processes according to Pi Gem's assumptions. What's clear is that he just needs a little work. No need to be loud, no need to push too hard. But the results can be the same or even exceed those of other people who work very hard. This is what is outlined in Pi Gem's life according to his own opinions.
In my mind, it's quite surprising, isn't it? Because logically, what does swimming at the beach have to do with earning more? Those people who live in coastal areas bathe at the beach every day. It's just ordinary. The thinking framework of people with this Paigem model is based on faith or belief. 1 + 1 may or may not equal 2. And there is no point. When Paigyo and Paigem meet, of course they will argue noisily about their respective opinions, right? I repeat, when the Paigyo and Paigem meet, of course they will argue loudly about each other's opinions. So what is the explanation for this Paigem assumption? This is how it is. What made Paigem successful in getting a bigger income was not because he bathed at the beach, but because Paigem himself thought that by bathing at the beach he could succeed in getting a bigger income. For other people who don't think like Paigem, even if they join in bathing at the beach, there's no effect. But if the assumption of Paigem is passed on and believed or said yes, then it will have an effect.
So bathing at this beach is just an example. You can get many other examples besides bathing at the beach, just the same. It's not about bathing on the beach, it's about the assumptions that come with it. There are also those who think that it is more effective to pray than to try or work hard. This is also okay. All is well. What's not okay, whether it's delicious or not, easy or difficult, each person gets a portion according to their own choice, and each must be responsible for their choices or decisions. The previous example also illustrates and answers questions regarding the models of certain rituals carried out by the noble artists. For example, prayer rituals that use certain mantras and burning incense or flower offerings and so on. In this case, what needs to be understood is that it is not the mantra, not the burning of incense, not the flower offerings that make the wish come true and succeed, but the assumption is that it is the ritual performer who works to send information signals to the universe and bounces back in a form, shape, or condition that corresponds to the information sent. The mantras, incense, and offerings are only symbolic. Sign. It's like saying it's just the envelope, not the contents, but the envelope signifies something inside. Even if you want to burn a truckload of incense, it won't have any effect if there's no thought attached to it. So it's not about the incense or the offerings. It's about trust. This is the law of attraction in the treasury of tradition. Or there are also those who perform rituals of prayer or worship to their god with certain movements and at certain times which are arranged in a certain way. For example, the gasho dance of shaking one's head, raising one's arms, and so on. Or by extreme means. For example, not eating for days, didn't sleep for days, abstaining from eating this and abstaining from eating that, reading certain words or sentences hundreds or even thousands of times, meditate in certain places at certain times. Well, it's clear up to here, right? It's not about how or what form it takes. But what do you think? The effectiveness of this assumption is greatly influenced by where or from whom this assumption is obtained. If it comes from someone you admire, respect, trust, have authority over, or who has power over you, the attraction becomes stronger. For example, from your grandfather, your father, your mother, your doctor, your mentor, your spiritual advisor, or your spiritual teacher, and so on. But if it comes from someone who is considered ordinary, or from someone who is not considered an expert, then it doesn't count, Mr. Aiko, even though the content is the same. For example, you tend to ignore or even sneer when the ice send-all seller in the alley in front tells you, "Sir, if you want to be successful, read Kukuruyuk 100 times before going to bed." You tend to ignore or even sneer. It's a different matter if the person who tells you is a success expert you admire. You tend to say yes straight away, even though the contents are the same. Read Kukuruyuk 100 times before going to bed, regardless of whether it was an inconsequential essay by the expert or not. If you believe, then that's how the universe processes according to your assumptions. So this assumption can greatly influence our life scenario. It can greatly influence the fate of oneself and others. How does the mechanism work? Let's dive into more detail in the next series. Hopefully this is useful. See you again in the next series. More in the next series. Hopefully it will be useful. See you in the next video. Warm greetings and always success. Greetings, True Then.